Being past 10 o'clock, call the Infrastructure Committee to order. Notice the meeting was posted on April the 12th. All three districts are present. Item 1 is to approve the minutes of April 3rd.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 2 is an update on the courthouse elevator projects. Anything? Okay, unless you have questions, no action. 3 is an update on our TIF 2 projects.
Nothing new today.
Unless there's questions, we'll do no action. Okay. 4 is the TIF 2 and 2A budgets.
And nothing new.
Unless there are questions, no action. 5 is an update regarding our capital improvements list.
Yeah, we turned the 11th floor egress project into the BET for budgeting for construction money this coming year after, July 1. Hopefully that can make it through the budget process and we can move forward on that project. The design is already paid for and we're under design, but we don't have any construction money. That's the project that we advanced for.
Stace, I think you had mentioned in this actually go back to the preceding item, the TIF budgets. There was some discussion that you might look at requesting some supplemental projects in TIF to replace some that were being done by ARPA. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I'm working with the city on that.
Is this 11th floor something that could potentially become a reimbursement?
Yeah, we could submit that through that process for reimbursement when the time comes, because we are going to take some out that ARPA paid for.
Would you like us to go ahead and ask you to begin that process of seeking reimbursement? That may give the BET and the elected officials some comfort knowing that they're going to get some money back in a year to 2 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you opposed to asking Stacy to consider that as part of a supplemental or an addendum to our most recent TIF request?
I would so move that.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item 6 is an update regarding our ARPA projects list.
You heard from the owner's rep at the BOCC meeting. He had the one concern about the behavioral health science. We're doing everything we can to, advance that project. We have the architect interviews on the 26th of this month. We got the approval to move forward with the CM at risk. So we'll be working on that pretty strongly the next month or so to try to get that project moving the best we can. The long straw is going to be the site selection, which we're already working on. Okay. So the other project that he didn't mention, and because I don't think he's been briefed yet because it just came up, the 4th floor project. And we ran into a little snag on that with our plan to put Mr. Warren on 4 and 5. We weren't able to get the crossover between the buildings to work out. So we had to go back to the drawing board. And I'll just kind of bring you up to date on how we got to where we are. Right now, the court clerk, and he can speak to this if I get it wrong, I guess the citizens go to his office and then they have to make their way to the courthouse, which is an elevator ride up or down in this building, and they get over and that's an elevator ride up or down in that building to find a judge and then maybe back to his office. So it's a little bit cumbersome as it sits today. And when we went to the temporary space, we thought we had a solution to that to make it better, but we don't. So if we proceed with the project as is, those citizens would have to come into the ICB, leave that building, go to the courts, come back out of the courts and back into his building. So it's even a little worse. And then when we finish the project, we're just back on 4 in the current situation, which I guess is a little cumbersome. So as we were thinking about how we were going to solve this, Mr. Warren came up with an idea that he needed to be on a crossover floor where you could directly, if he was on 3 or 5, people could go back and forth without getting the extra elevator rides. And I had to tell him that I came up to that same conclusion 13 years ago when I first got space allocation as an assignment. We thought about that back then. You know, we moved the jury assembly down to one. We got this new boardroom here. There was a lot of moving parts we did accomplish. We weren't able to accomplish the crossover floor back then because I made several presentations at the budget board, and you can look at the minutes of that. There was a 7-1 vote, and the dissenting vote to even do the project at all was the court clerk at the time. Not this court clerk, but a previous court clerk. So the idea kind of died back then, but it kind of got brought back to life here recently. And Mr. Warren's been talking to some of his counterparts, the treasurer, the assessor. He can speak to how those went, but we just wanted to trade floors with them. He would go to 3, they would go to 4. Then he'd have a crossover floor. Don't know how those discussions ended up. But if we were to do that, there's a lot of decisions that's been made in the last 13 years that would impact that. The Board of County Commissioners has went forward with their front entrance project, which would get impacted. The treasurer's put some of his special revenues into his office to make it better for him, and that would be an issue. There's just some other moving parts that get involved in this decision going forward that we're going to ask you to make. And I could rattle on for a while, but if
Why
others
don't we
want
let
to speak.
Mr. Warren talk?
I don't have much to say on it. You did a great job, Stacy, and I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me speak. Stacy was mentioning is the number of people that go back and forth to the courthouse. Many of the offices are very busy, and each of us have needs and wants, and I understand the treasurer and Larry, and they are friends of mine, and I don't want to inconvenience them at all. But it truly should not be about inconveniencing me or the treasurer or the assessor. It's the public. It's the people we serve, the county, the taxpayers. On any of the other offices, the Oklahoma County Court Clerk averages on a slow day 1,500 people a day at our counter. The elevators in the building next door couldn't handle that traffic. That's why we were going to cross at 5. We used to be the 4th floor, the 5th floor used to be the court clerk, and then the DA took it. We're the only office, elected office, that needs a crossover to the courthouse. We have to help many an elderly person find their way to the courthouse from the annex building because there's no crossover in the forward. So our suggestion, which I found out Stacy had done this many, many years ago, the same idea, it makes sense that many of the offices, they get busy once or twice a year. The rest of the year, 2 or 3 people a day maybe. But even during the times when they're the busiest, from what I understand, this is just information been given to me, that they might see 1,000 people a week. Once again, we see 1,500 a day. On a good day, 2,400 every day. So people come and they have to go back and forth to the courthouse. If you're trying to get something done, whether it's a lawsuit or a criminal case, you may have to come over and file something in the courthouse. And when I say they, a lot of times it's lawyers. It may be the same lawyer making 5, 10, 15 trips. We have runners, and many times they're carrying large quantities of records. You've probably seen them carrying boxes of files coming to our office, getting them all stamped and rushing them to the courthouse, then bring them back and refile and pay their fees and do what they need to do. What we ought to focus on is how can we inconvenience the least amount of people. Now, I'm willing to make my office, my floor, wherever I'm at, accessible. Right now, Larry's people are on the 4th floor. He needs to be there. They need a place to come to. He has 40-some people in there, and every Friday they come in, many of them, and they do the reports that's necessary. And this time of the year, they're filing their complaints that they want their property taxes lowered. We all want that. So they're up there trying to get this accomplished. And these are our citizens, the people that we work for. These are the people we serve. So they have every right to know and have easy access. So the plan that I've proposed that Stacy did 13 years ago would do this. Larry would stay right where he's at. I understand Butch doesn't want people coming to his office getting lost looking for it. So like I said, what we could do, and we'll have to crowd up. We're already crowded. We're packed. We could give Butch 2 or 3 windows and then give Butch a spot in our accounting area where he'd have a window there where that could be his transactions where people are coming in. Now, it's going to be inconvenience for our staff, but it'd be less inconvenience for the people. And it just makes perfectly sense. If we can make this work and save money too at the same time. One thing I want to mention, and it was brought to my attention, and if I'm wrong, if I'm speaking wrong, tell me, Stacy, is I understand back in 2014, we paid for air conditioning to be done throughout the building. And it's going to be done. We've paid for it already. And the third and fourth floor, it can't be done without removing asbestos. So the third floor is going to get demolished anyway. I mean, you can say you're going to piece it, you can say you're going to do this, but when you're bringing the asbestos down, you're going to be redoing some floors. You may not redo it all, but you're going to be redoing a bunch of it. We saw what happened on 6. So it's going to happen anyway. Why not do it in a controlled way? In construction, I don't like surprises. And so I set everything up. I go look at all the building plans, look at everything, locations, even the topo of the ground when I'm building a new project, and I get prepared, and I got all my plans, I get everything delivered in a timely manner. Up here the same way. Why not remodel? Here's our idea, Stacy's idea. Why not remodel the third floor? Leaving Larry's people where it's at, giving Butch some windows in my office now. We'll make it work. Moving Butch and Larry over there because they have the least traffic. Move them to the other building. Leave us where we're at, remodel the third floor for the court clerk. Then we move downstairs, get it all set up. Once again, while we're on the third floor, now that we're there, still give Larry access so his people have a place to work on the third floor. That means we'll be cramped for a year or so, 2 years maybe. Give Butch windows at our counter so his taxpayers can come in, pay their taxes, let him use where we take payment, and all that works out. We work together instead of fighting amongst ourselves and making it harder. Because when we disagree, we're making it harder on the people we serve. The 1,500, 2,000 people a day that's coming to my counter, we should make it very accessible to them. I mean, that's no offense, but it's called the courthouse and the court and the court annex. That's what we are. That's what most people are coming here for. 5 out of 6 people are coming for courts. And if you can help us with this, we've worked it all out. I just kind of touched the details, but we worked all the details out. Not everybody's happy with it, but there's a way to make it work for everybody. That means for a few years, I'll still be crowded. But the end result, you shouldn't plan for next year. You shouldn't plan for next month or 2 years, 5 years, 20-year plan. This is a 20-year plan. What I'm presenting to you, what Stacy had already done 14 years ago, is a 20-year plan. You get the court clerk on the floor that goes across. It should have always been that way. You take and remodel, and you literally inconvenience the fewest amount of people. Thank you for your time. Any questions, I'm willing to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Thank you.
So Stacy, we've approved, we being the county, approved 9 million or so in order to accomplish the 4th floor remodel, if you will.
That's correct.
Right.
9.8, I believe.
Okay. That project is now somewhat underway in terms of we've had an architect that's been hired. Is that?
An architect is on board.
In utilizing those ARPA funds, we had to provide a written justification that Treasury would have in the event the project was reviewed. Is that?
Yeah, I'm not sure that one's finished yet, but the qualifying piece was Mr. Warren's getting his people spread out 6 feet apart, and the others are dominoes, if not 4. And our Accenture verbally said that works, but I think the final document is not done yet. Written document.
That's, I like the idea. You were right 12 years ago. My concern, however, is we move forward based upon Accenture reviewing one project. And I understand, well, you can say we're just substituting floors. But I think if we're going to consider this, I think the board needs to be fully apprised of not only the BOCC, but the budget board as well, the potential cost. What fund is going to bear what portion of a cost? So is the use of the ARPA funds permissible, and will it accomplish 3 and 4? I think Accenture needs to weigh in on that, perhaps even our ARPA representative, Mr. White. I think we need to look to see if the funds that are set aside won't cover doing both floors, what the potential hit to the budget will be. Because what we don't want to do, in my opinion, is start down the road and then not have funding available to accomplish what it is we need to get done.
Oh, absolutely. And the funding will become clearer this summer when I take bids on the asbestos. The asbestos numbers I'm hearing are so wide right now. They're anywhere from 400,000 to $2.3 million. So
Yeah, but are you taking bids on asbestos on 3 or asbestos on 4
right,
or asbestos on both?
I gotta
mean,
know the answer to that before I take them. That's a critical piece. But if the bids are on the lower end, then I've probably got enough money here to accomplish it with the budget we have. If they're towards the higher end, I'll be short and we'll have to get more money. You're correct.
And so I think what I'm asking is, doesn't it make sense that we go back to Accenture and Mr. White to make sure that everything that we're wanting to do now in order to make this a usable facility is still in line with what was originally thought of and conceived?
Yeah, I think all the players need to review the project, kind of a start over, and everybody get on the same page whichever direction we're going to go.
Okay.
The more people looking at it, the better.
All right. I like the idea of doing it. I just want to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and that everybody is fully aware that either we have enough funds, we believe we have enough funds, or there's going to be some hit to the budget down the road.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And we can't put the decision off very long because you've already awarded a contract on 3 to move the purchasing office up there. We haven't signed the contract, so probably the cost we have there is maybe just the bonds if you were to cancel that.
And I think that's part of the discussion with White and Associates and Accenture, is that you get in a room with them and review everything that's been done to date, what potential changes we're looking at making, and does it still meet with the use of the ARPA funds and how we best go forward, and come back and we can have a special meeting if necessary to make recommendations to the board, or you can just go directly to the board.
Very good.
You good? Okay. All right. Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Just on behalf of the court system, I would encourage you to do whatever you can to dot those I's and cross those T's and make this happen. It just makes sense for the court clerk's office to have the crossover into the courthouse. Attorneys and runners can kind of get used to all the up and downs, but we have a lot of pro se people, folks that are coming in, filing for victims protective orders that are sent up to the 4th floor, then over to the, then we have to go down to the 3rd floor to cross over, go down to the 2nd floor through the judge, back up, back. And for pro se folks that aren't used to that, that's where you really see the big issues coming in. I mean, it's more convenient for the attorneys and runners. It makes more sense from an elevator standpoint, but certainly from the standpoint of all the pro se folks, it makes perfect sense. So appreciate your consideration.
Thanks, Renee. All right. Anything else? All right. Do we, go ahead. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. And Stace, you'll get with Accenture, you'll get with White and Associates. Do you want that in the form of a motion, or do you?
No, we'll just do it.
All right. 7, Stacy, is you. It's an update on the Citizens Oversight Board.
At their last meeting, they went into executive session to review the sites. That's all I can say about that at this point. They also brought a recommendation to the board this morning. I think you guys who were here and heard that, for the using the CMAR as the preferred delivery method for construction. Just makes sense that you can do you have a lot more capabilities there when you got a tight budget and a tight schedule.
All right. Any questions for Stacy? All right. Motion to receive? All in favor? Aye. Anybody, citizen participation? Anyone? Board comments? District 3? None. District 2? None here. New business? Motion to adjourn, please. All in favor? Aye. Bear with us, we'll switch over. Are you good? You have motion buttons. Charles, you good? Are you in? Okay, call the PBA advisory to order. Notice the meeting was posted on March the 30th. Item 1 is to approve the minutes of March 20th. I'm not on the, yeah, I'm not on the right agenda here. My fault. Okay, I think I'm in the right spot now. That's my fault. Apologize. Okay, let's start over. Notice the meeting was properly posted on April the 12th. Now, approve the minutes of the April 3rd meeting. Second. All in favor? Aye. Two is an update on the ICB exterior envelope project.
I'd like to begin the process of selecting an architect for this work.
We've been through this once before, so we had an RFQ that was done, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that reusable? Do we need to make some changes to that? Have you reviewed that process? Where are we at?
I think there'll need to be some revision. Perhaps the scope of work will change. And so an RFQ that more accurately describes what we can and cannot do would be helpful.
Okay, if you'll work with Chantel, and what's the time frame you think on getting that out?
Not sure.
Sorry, I can't hear with a.
We'll work together on that.
Okay, all right. Is it conceivable by mid-May that we could have it?
I think so. Right, Chantel?
Okay, all right. Thanks, Chantel. I know you're not busy at all. Okay, all right. Anything else, Keith? No. All right. Is there a? Second. All in favor? Aye. 3 is a discussion of our PBA ARPA projects.
The Kraus project is underway. We have the architect on board. You have a vendor for the camera security system. I think you're waiting for money to get put in the right place. And then the rest are elevators. So we really haven't started on those yet.
Anything else?
No.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I believe.
Item 4 can be stricken, or actually, item 4 was stricken at the last meeting, so we can strike it again, I guess.
Mhm.
I believe I'll move to strike 4 and 5. I believe 5 was.
Yes.
Yep, you're correct, Charles. Thank you. All right.
I'm sorry, I moved. Aye.
Okay. Citizens' participation, board comments, Charles,
None.
Don? Done here. New business. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Getting more efficient.